that we must actually deliver this particular field. So, oh yes, it was a bit, challenging, and it was a bit terrifying at first.
Yeah.
But I'm a very proud man today that some hours to Mashujaa Day, we have delivered.
2.5 months later, of course.
We have delivered.
And it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Right. Of course, the theme this year for Mashujaa Day is universal healthcare coverage. And we have seen that the president today, of course, the four enacted bills have now become law. So I'd want to know from you, where you sit now, here in Kericho County as the governor, how are these bills going to affect this county, and what should the locals expect?
Basically, yeah, when from COG perspective and from where we sit from, we had a lot of conversations about this bill. And as Council of Governors, I remember we had so many sittings with CS Nakomija, areas that we felt like it could be remodified and be relooked in the bill. We subjected to a heavy discussion. And I just want to confirm today that whatever the bill or what the president intends to achieve is a policy that guides the primary healthcare network. In the past, this country has attempted so hard, and we have had, the community health workers, as they were called, to perform.
Right.
But out of it, they were not structured. There were no policies covering them. And so some of these elements of this bill will actually formalize and structure and restructure the community health networks. For example, on matters financing, which is critical for the county governments, the national government is going to give a stipend to the community health promoters. And in that stipend, the county governments will also be expected in their budgets to meet what the national government is giving out. And so out of it, we'll have, sort of cost sharing to meet the stipends for the community health promoters. You look into the whole concept of digitalization, and we know that the core of the primary health care network is the digitalization aspect of it, where the community health promoters will be able to visit a family, do their diagnosis, examine them, and then out of the cards that has been distributed to them, they would be able to relay to the nearest health center. And of course, it reflects across. For example, in Kericho, so far, so good. We have digitalized close to 15 hospitals now as you are speaking. And when you meet the healthcare worker or a promoter in the village, he or she can examine a patient, and the details are instantly sent to the health facilities, where it reduces, the ease of coming to the hospital and queue until when your doctor calls your name, you go and say your problems. So by the time you get to the hospital, already your issues has been sorted.
Right.
What the bill also seeks to address, in my own view, is the protection of the patient's privacy. Because now we're talking about digitizing the records.
Right.
And we know that within the Constitution, health of an individual is protected and is private. And so as we digitalize, how then are we going to ensure that we safeguard the records, keep and track the patient, and people to have the whole system that our hospital facilities, right from records, right from payments and every other thing is kept in some good digital processes that are able to speak to us even in the future. Yeah.
Right, interesting, of course. But now, away from Mashujaa Day and the UHC, I want us to talk about education in the county. I know that's something that you're very passionate about.
Oh, yeah.
Since coming into power as the governor of Kericho County, what new thing have you introduced when it comes to education in this area?
Basically, I'm the chairman of education in COG, and you know that what has been devolved for us as county units is the basic education, the ECD, and the vocational training centers. When I took in as the governor, our teachers were earning peanuts. They were earning 8,000 to 10,000. It didn't matter whether you have a degree or diploma, you just earn 10,000. And I found a team of hardworking teachers, but demoralized. Right. So what I committed to myself was that in that space, because the basic foundation is critical for the formation of a child, I committed to myself, first of all, to confirm the teachers that we have on permanent and pensionable terms and work on their salaries. And as it is 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was able to confirm all of them. And the degree teacher now is earning 40,000. The diploma teacher is earning 30,000. Certificate teacher is earning 25,000. I have also employed 30 ward supervisors. We have 30 wards in Kericho, and I've employed 30 ward supervisors to gather for the needs of ECD and also for the FTCs. I have committed, and we have done this year, more than 30 ECD facilities for those areas that were in need. We have specific wards that the distance from one school to the other one is quite a distance. And this also, will discourage a child from going to school.
Right.
And so what we have done is to make devolution work by taking the ECD schools close to them. But in other words, in a very intentional manner, I stopped construction of ECD facilities because I felt we have enough, and what those schools require is an additional teacher, so that we have at least 2 ECD teachers handling the basic unit, one doing PP1 and another one in PP2,
Right.
depending on the student population. I've also taken the ECD teachers through a thorough in-service, so that they are also abreast with the reforms in education, such as the CPC and all that a child requires. We are now working towards a feeding program, where in the next 2 or 3 months, we expect that every child in Kericho County will be able to get a meal, so that we are able to keep these children even after 3 p.m., just like the academy are doing private academies. And this one way where even that very poor parent in the village there, who can't afford to take the child to a private academy, will be able to take the child to a public school in Kericho County government and have that child, experience and enjoy learning just like the other kid coming from a good home.
Right.
On matters FTCs, the economy of this country, and we've been talking about Vision 2030,
Right.
Vision 2063. All this can never be realized if we do not realign and recraft our education. In my heart and in my experience as a former don in the university, the future of this nation is recrafting curricula in the university and recrafting curricula in the FTCs. So in the vocational training centers, and not only in Kericho, but across Kenya, because I'm the chairman of education and I'm speaking for the 47 counties, we are working in partnership with the Ministry of Education to ensure that we recraft our FTCs. My looking into it is that, like in Kericho, I have done a meeting with directors in KDDA, because this is a tea industry,
Right.
to understand what kind of skilled labor do the tea industry require. Then we'll become intentional in what we train in our FTCs. We are equipping, and so far so good. Close to 10 FTCs have benefited in modern workshops that we have funded as a county government. Our intention is that we want to have like 40% in class and 60% in the workshop, so that the child you are producing in FTC is so skilled enough that is able to work into the industry or be able to, create and innovate by itself. One of the things we are doing, we have Chemosot technical training, FTC, we have Chepseyon, and we have Kapsoit, and we have one called Kiptere. Our focus is to turn these specific institutions into incubation centers. For example, in Chemosot, we want to do incubation of yogurt.
Right.
We want to do incubation of pineapple, because we do a lot of pineapples there.
Yeah.
So that as we train you in food and beverages, it stops being just theoretical. But
It's
we
more
bring you
practical.
out where you are able, and we are providing you with the capital. We are providing you with the right machinery, be able then to incubate you, and you be able to do your yogurt and get youths in this center doing yogurts, doing pineapples, orange trees, and be able to sell and make a life out of themselves.
I'm curious, though, is your county open to getting teachers from other counties?
Yes. There is a program that we are looking into it. Of course, the current engagement as it is within the FTCs does not provide for inter-county transfer, because a number of those FTC trainers that we have across county governments are on contract. They are not permanent pensionable employees. But looking into the future, it would be exciting to have a model where we employ this pool of people, not specifically for that county, but as professionals who can work anywhere, just like the way TSA is doing.
I want to talk about now tea. I mean, this is the tea capital of Kenya, if I could put it that way, Kericho. We have seen that a few months ago. There's been a bit of, with the residents, they got into the Brook Trading Center and they torched some machineries.
Yeah.
I want us to talk about that because do you think the locals are not open to the machinery and the new evolution, of course, on technology when it comes to tea farming?
There is a delicate balance because, first of all, you must look into history.
Right.
Growing up in this county, people used to pluck tea. And we had very friendly, CEOs in the multinationals at that time, Brookbond and the rest.
Right.
But in 2007 to 8, thereabout, there was an abrupt introduction of machines. And there was an abrupt redundancy of close to 95% of workers there. We saw homes disrupted, close being schools. And now they have single mothers with children running in town. So there was that sense of residents' feelings unattended, unappreciated. But, over time, like whatever happened in a few months, and I'm happy it has been resolved, there was that sense of suspicion because there was an abrupt departure from what it used to be. For example, in some years back in the age of Kipkalia Gones and the many others that were leaders here, there used to be, a quarterly or a yearly roundtable discussion at ITC here where, the managers in the TS state would call the local leadership, discuss the changes they want to introduce, then the local leadership will take it to their people. But then it came to, a breakdown along the point where now the investors, sort of closed in themselves, and changes just happen without the populace, aware of the same. And this led to that kind of run and parallel. But then there's a delicate balance between the investor and also the need for jobs. And that is why, as a county governor, I created a tea task force that was looking into this matter. And they proposed that we have 40% of mechanization, and 60% of human labor. For example, in Sri Lanka, today in Sri Lanka, we have 40% mechanization, and we have also some percentage of a good percentage of human labor. Knowing that this is Africa and the demand for skilled labor is still high, there is still a need to look into this. But what we have told the many of our youth and residents is that, again, taking the law into your hands is not the solution. And allow the leadership to be able to have a legally and an amiable engagement with an investor. And so far, so good. I'm proud today to mention that the engagement is on. We have selected teams from my brother Pachok and myself. We've been able, and the entire leadership, Senator Cheriot and Senator Obamet, and the MPs, we've come up with names that we have seconded them to have a conversation with KTGA. And hopefully, I hope they will be able to come up with a win-win situation.
Thank you.
That you see there is also a penny from the same.
Right, thank you for that. That's a very interesting conversation. Of course, we're looking forward to Mashujaa Day tomorrow being hosted here in your county. Right, that's it for that conversation here. We've been having Dr. Eric Mutai. He's the Kericho governor. For now, though, I want to hand it over back to Trix in studio.
All right, thank you very much, Fatia Nur, for that. And of course, we're looking forward to that coverage tomorrow as Kenya celebrates Mashujaa Day. Let's have some sports news now. KCB RFC is set to renew its intense rivalry with nemesis Menengai Oilers when the two sides meet on Saturday during the floodlit rugby tournament semi-finals at the Impala ground.